So yet again, there is actually some super crazy new lore that once again reshapes what we had previously known, pretty much everything about the Titans. This is not one of those speculation theories, but literally the Dragonflight artbook was released a few days back and it gave us some super interesting information in regards to the possible connection between the Dragon Isles and the actual Well of Eternity, and most importantly, how Azeroth is not actually a world soul and how the Titans literally built facilities in order to turn her into a Titan, but the original energies were completely different. So what is all this new information and how do we make sense out of all this stuff? If you guys are looking to buy a new wallet, then check out the sponsor of this video, Ridge. They sent this thing to me years ago and it's literally the only wallet that I've used. Recently, they've also released key case as well, so you can check that out as well, but overall their products are great. For the wallet, you can put 12 cards here, you can push cash on the side, and it's just super cool. If you want to get a 10% discount, use code Doron and check out my link in the description below. Okay, so if you guys may remember, there have been many theories in Shadowlands about this topic, and if you follow my channel, I've even made a bunch of videos on this topic, and the topic is that Azeroth may not be a Titan whatsoever. Previously, this was kind of a crazy tinfoil hat theory, but now it makes sense. If you remember originally with the Chronicle, we were told that Titan souls reside inside the core of the planets, where the other Titans come in, awaken them, and create the perfect conditions for this awakening to happen. Well, like nearly a decade later, we learned that Chronicle is literally Titan propaganda. From Uldaman, we learned that Titans hide and rewrite history, so right now it is all but confirmed that this story is complete, utter, and just absolute BS. As you may be aware, originally it was the old gods that came into Azeroth and attempted to turn the planet into their weapon by creating the Black Empire. We were told that the old gods were instruments of the so-called warlords. Now, if that happened and old gods were actually successful in their mission and we learned their version of history, we would probably learn that little void beings are born inside planets and that they just came in to give the perfect conditions for the little void lord to awaken. However, the Titans came in, got rid of these guys completely, purposefully hid their history and all the advancements of the Black Empire, as we learned from the recent Uldaman books, painted them as just all-out evil, and then told us that they were saving the Titans that is inside the planet. Well, let's not go any further with speculations and my own opinions, and let's dig into the all actual new information, because no longer do we need a tinfoil hat for this, as Blizzard actually dropped some really serious hints. Here is the first paragraph. The grand design of Tyrhold was second only to the natural splendor that flows beneath it, the nurturing waters of the Wellspring of Eternity. The foundations of this monumental facility channel the flow of the Wellspring through aqueducts connected to the life pools of the Red Dragonflight. From those pools, eggs of all flights are infused with the strength needed to protect Azeroth as Tyr intended. So there is just so much to unpack here. In order for you to get the context of what is going on, that is the old reveal from the Uldaman books that happened a few weeks back. There was apparently this pool of water that the dragons were drinking from their water source. Yogg-Saron, while imprisoned by the Titans, attempted to sabotage them, and in turn he infused the water with his own essence. This essence created a monstrosity known as Galakrond, and the Titans now had a big problem on their hands, so they had to cleanse these waters, and while they were at it, they probably realized that damn, this is actually a pretty good mechanism, so let's do the same thing, just infusing it with our essence so that these dragons are going to align with the Titan philosophies. Now, this brings us to the second really important bit of information. Another, albeit in a different context, part of the books says this. The elemental magic that suffused the Waking Shores waned as a consequence of the Sundering, the pivotal event in time where the 10 singular landmass of Kalimdor was ripped into numerous new continents. As the aspects went to help heal their world, they left our homeland to slumber, hoping that one day it would awaken and surge with elemental magic once more. So, if you cannot understand it, this is yet another big hitter. As you may know, elemental magic is native to the planet, and turns out this is exactly what Azeroth may actually be, like its true nature, just an elemental form of magic that the others are trying to corrupt. As you may also know, with these primalists that we are fighting, the proto-dragons, the original form of dragons, are literally all about elemental magic, and they may be the true native beings in like the true sense of the word, and these evolved dragons, the dragon aspects, are, as all signs currently point, just arcane titan infused beings. Now, let's combine all this into one bit of information. So, at the moment, it is kind of confusing as hints are kind of all over the place. The most important bit that is mentioned is that the Titans say that the most natural splendor is the so-called Wellspring of Eternity. Now, I don't know about you, but to me that sounds exactly the same as the actual Well of Eternity. By the official storyline, this was the wound that was created when Yashiraj was pulled out, and while that may still be true, maybe this Wellspring was not actually an arcane source of power, but an elemental one. Even the naming convention makes sense. Originally it was called the Wellspring because it was a native coming from the ground, but as the Titans changed it, they just called it a well, so now it's the Well of Eternity. So if we combine the current hints, it seems like it was the Titan Keepers that turned the Wellspring of Eternity into the Well of Eternity by infusing it with arcane magic. As you may know, the Titan facility mentioned, Tyr's Hold, is literally on top of a place called Halls of Infusion, when they said infuse the waters, which is a part of it, and there are aqueducts that go from this place. The beacon at the top of this place is what hid the Isles for so long. You can probably see it in the cinematic. Now, as the hint from the book says, the foundations of the facility channel the flow of the Wellspring of Eternity through aqueducts that are connected to the life pools of the red Dragonflight, and from these pools, eggs of all flights are affected. So, essentially, from this facility, the dragons were turned into what they are today, and it was mainly down to the eggs, which is why maybe many of the original older dragons may have rebelled, and the whelps never really had a chance to reconsider this information. Now, this is the theory. So, these halls of infusion are literally like a water filtering facility that they draw water from the elemental well of eternity, and it literally brings it back and forth while pumping it with arcane, which is in essence Titan order magic. It is literally the same mechanism how the old gods would corrupt it with void, the Titans would just corrupt it with arcane. Through this connection, they also spread their magic further. It kind of makes sense when you really think about it. Blizzard is kind of vague whether these used to be isles in the past, but most likely they weren't. When you compare the current location on the map and look at the original mega continent of Azeroth, the map that we previously got, the actual Well of Eternity was incredibly close to the current isles, so it could easily be connected, and this water it could easily be transferred. So if we take this at face value, there are some insane implications for everything that we currently know of. This is at the moment the closest information that we have in regards to Azeroth not actually being a Titan, and when you combine this with the previous information, it makes a ton of sense. Azeroth seems to be an incredibly powerful energy source that seems to be based around elemental magic, but unconnected to all the 6 major cosmological forces. Some would even say it could be related to the 7th one, the first ones, but that is a story for another video. Now, it seems like all 6 are actually trying to get Azeroth to their side. I'm sure the Black Empire will tell us that this was a Void Lord and how Void Lords are born inside planet. Most recently, we had the Jailer trying to get it as well in order to reshape the universe, and it looks like the most successful out of all of these were the Titans. They pretty much fooled us all. Most of the current releases are related to them, although that doesn't mean much because, as well in the past, others had rebelled against them that they called heretics. The Uldaman book told us that the Titans were granted power by the first ones in Zereth Ordis, and it turns out that maybe these Titans are not actually born from inside the core of planets, but that these are just some crazy order guys that literally are just stealing planet energies and turning it into one of their own. Pretty much exactly the same how the Void wants to create a Void Titan. I'm guessing Sargeras may have realized how crazy this order plan is and how it's literally pointless, so he just wanted to destroy everything. Now, at the moment, these are still early hints, so we can't say any of this information with like 100% certainty, but let's be real, these are some pretty strong hints, and as we go further, I'm guessing this is only going to get confirmed more. Maybe not in the exact same manner as I had just described it, but the setup right now seems to be going that way. Thank you for watching. Check out what does the new era WoW mean by clicking on the screen, and check out the Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.